Book review. Clap, clap. I don't know. I just got a quick little one. Want to bang out real quick. Uh, this is a very quick read for me. I'm usually a very slow reader, but this was just a quick book. There was a lot of pictures in it, so it just flew by. I finished it in 2 days. It's only 200 pages, but I I don't pay attention to my hair. Fucking looks like that colonial ass like ponytail thing they used to rock. But anyway, I read Strange Houses by Uketsu. Uketsu. Um, it's a described as a chilling Japanese mystery sensation. Um, just start out like it was good. I liked it. The format, yes, made it easy to read, but it was also an intriguing story that made you want to keep reading to figure out what the truth of the mystery was. Um, I don't think I'll dive too much into spoilers. I'll just kind of like give a synopsis and kind of just say well like maybe what I didn't like without divulging too much because it is a mystery. Like I don't want to talk too much about it. Um, but it's the story is about this writer or like journalist or something who is hold on. Right, that's right. Okay. So it starts off by this writer guy who gets called by this like friend of his and the friend like wants to hear his thoughts on this house he's looking to buy, and he like gives him the floor plan and stuff. Hold on, is that dude? I read this so quick, I can't remember the beginning. Um. Anyway, yeah, this friend asked the author, who in the story he doesn't have a name. He goes by author because the story's told as kind of like an article, and so he asked him to look into this like house he's looking to buy, hear his thoughts on it and stuff. And he goes, "Okay, yeah, I'll look into it." And he notices like something kind of weird about the floor plan. It's like, why is this room here? Why is there no window here? What's this weird little space? You know? And he has an architecture friend named Kurihara, and he asks Kurihara his thoughts, and he's like, "It is odd, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's anything crazy about it." But then I don't know. Ultimately, they kind of thought that there's just kind of bad vibes from it, and then ultimately, like his friend, you know, doesn't decides not to buy the house because there's a like a body found nearby in the area. They're like, it's just bad vibes. Let's stay away from it. But then coming from that, they kept thinking about this layout, and then they find this other layout of this other house that has similar connections, and they find this like linear, not maybe not linear. What am I trying to think of? This connection between the two and like what the layout could mean and how like the sinister truth behind why the house is made and laid out the way it is. Um, like I said this before, I'm not trying to like sell things. Nobody's fucking watching this, but you're, if you're watching this, you're most likely a friend of mine. But I'm not trying to like say like, oh, you should read this book and like try to give a detailed synopsis and shit. I just want to talk. I like to talk. So I'm not very good at explaining things very well. Um, but that's kind of it. They find these houses that have similar connections, have very weird layouts about them, and they uncover this mystery of you know who made these houses, why did they make these houses. Uh, based on how I'm saying it, I feel like maybe it doesn't sound very intriguing, I'm probably underselling it, but it is a very interesting because I don't want to say too much because it is a mystery, but it is a very interesting story where like there's like a bunch of pages in this where it's just house layouts and it sounds kind of boring. And honestly, you don't really get too much out of the pictures, or at least I didn't. But how they like work through it and kind of piece things together is interesting. And there's like a dark, kind of sinister um piece of the puzzle that they do try to uncover. Um so yeah, that's kind of the synopsis, I guess. One thing I will say I did like the pictures, even though they didn't really do much for me because they a lot of dialogue does focus around the houses and how the layouts, you know. So it is good to see a visual about what they are talking about. But I don't know, like I guess thinking about it now, so much of the plot is centered solely around these houses. But and that doesn't sound very interesting. Thinking back on it, it shouldn't be very interesting. But credit to the author for how he writes this and is able to weave in this mystery and make it compelling and make you keep sitting through these discussions that are solely about why does this room have no windows? Why is this room facing away from the kitchen and some shit? Which sounds really boring and like it's a couple plot points from just being a fucking like architectural book. Um but I you got to give the author a lot of credit for how he's able to make it compelling out of this not so compelling, I guess, idea. I don't know, because it is a good idea. You'd think such a concept would be kind of dull, but he makes it very interesting. So that's why I like the pictures because it does add a visual aid for something that is discussed. Like you'd have to, you need to see it in your head for it to make sense. For us, it's going to be super confusing. And it made the book go by really quickly. You know, you'd have a thing where it's like takes up eh, the whole page, and it's like, oh, nice easy page to read. You know, I like that. And there's I won't say that there's many twists and turns. It is pretty straightforward. You know, it's like each chapter you're uncovering more and more of the mystery, and you're like kind of making it kind of make sense to you as you go along. Now it's not like you're gonna guess it like halfway through, but it is pretty straightforward. However, it is very like whenever you uncover a stone, it's just like okay, I understand this. This is making sense to me. I like this. Let's keep going, which is good because in mysteries sometimes they just throw some crazy ass shit at you and it makes no sense. But it's like the shock and awe is supposed to grab you, which sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. So I like the kind of simplicity of the story. It keeps you involved, but it's not like a boring read. One thing I okay, this is my main kind of problem with the book, and I don't know if it's a problem. It's really more of a gripe. The character of Kurihara, his like sole purpose is to like move the story along, because like the author is like, what are your thoughts about this, Kurihara? I'm curious to hear what you want to say. It's like, oh, I don't know. It is a bit odd, you know. It is just a thought. If you'd entertain me, and it'll say like the exact thing that it is, and it's like, dude, how do you think of this? Because Kurihara is introduced as just an architecture with similar interest to the author in like spooky stuff, and he just always comes up with these theories and stuff that is just like, oh, this is definitely what it is, and like he's just there to like because like he's just they're just regular people, they're not detectives or anything. So like, how are they supposed to figure this out? Kurihara is like the smartest guy alive, and he just like, "Ah, no, this couldn't be it. But what if this was because of this?" It's like, oh, that does make sense, Kurihara. It's like, yeah, I guess so. But that was kind of like that was the main thing I kind of had a problem with, if anything. But it was kind of mostly just it was like funny to me mostly. It was like they had to figure stuff out some way, but I don't know. It would just be like, how do you think of that just from this house layout, dude? But something interesting that I did like about Kurihara is so the whole story is kind of told from the author's point of view, and then there's an afterword in the book, but it's written from Kurihara's perspective, and you get to hear Kurihara's thoughts on stuff, and it adds a whole different perception and different thoughts on how you thought the book ended, which I did really like. I really like that tool because you thought the story ended, and you're like, okay, cool. Then you get to hear Kurihara's thoughts, and you're like, oh, and it makes you think. And it's like, you look at the book differently, or at least I did. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't know. I'm trying to tell the line of not giving away too much, but then I'm like, I don't want to like say nothing of value. Um, I did really like the way it was written. I would definitely want to. I guess this is like his second book. His first book was a really big like hit in Japan, so I do want to read his other stuff. But yeah, this was a good, solid read. Nice mystery. Kind of a uninteresting premise made very interesting. If that makes sense. I don't know, but I did enjoy it. I will give it a 7.5. It doesn't like redefine the genre or anything, but it's a good, solid mystery. And it's quick read. Just need like a break from like a series you're reading. Like try this out. I enjoyed it. Like I'll recommend it to my friend. But yeah, I'll say 7.5. Strange Houses by Uketsu, translated by Jim Rion or Ryan. I don't know. That's it. I'm gonna go probably watch the Spurs lose to the Thunder. Unfortunately, I don't want to get into all that, dude. No, I can't. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna talk about the NBA real quick. I didn't. I'm a casual NBA fan nowadays. I don't really pay attention to this time around in the playoffs. I'm a Bulls fan. The Bulls suck. Maybe I'll do a Bulls video because now, hey, we got the fourth overall pick. We got stuff to talk about. But I never really noticed how annoying the Spurs are not Spurs, the Thunder are and their games because they're so floppy, which is like the whole league now. But like it's crazy with the Thunder, and I'm just thinking like, if the Thunder do win, do I have to root for the Knicks? I don't want to root for the Knicks, but I don't like the brand of basketball the Thunder play. I really don't like the Knicks, so I don't know. Come on, Wemby. Come on, Spurs. Yeah. All right, that's kind of my thoughts. Yeah. I need an outro thing. I don't fucking know. So yeah. What the fuck? Oh, my mouse isn't working.